morning, Talawanda. Today is Tuesday, January 19th, 2021.
Picture Day is Friday for all in-person learners.
Talawanda teachers have been figuring out how to address recent events around the country. We checked in with a few of them to see how they were discussing the events with their students.
On January 6th of 2021, a group of pro-Trump supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. and descended upon the Capitol building, during which time a Congress meeting was occurring to make decisions about the final count of the 2020 presidential election. Many are labeling this event as an insurrection. Windows were broken, property was damaged, but to those of us rather far removed from the events at the Capitol, the significance of it can be difficult to understand.
I asked students if they had any questions, and we addressed those questions together. I thought it was also important to address misinformation as best as I could. We have discussed security, the fragility of democracy, and the upcoming inauguration.
The fact that most young people nowadays consume their news from social media, teachers have been making a point of trying to centralize the objective information surrounding the situation. Some have also been taking an approach of relating the events of January 6th to other historical events to help put the issues into perspective.
Despite many conflicting views within the media, it can be agreed that the events on January 6th were unprecedented and rival those of the tumultuous times of our nation's founding.
So we did a lot of talking, and I did a lot of looking at other teachers and research that was available online, and decided that I would take some inspiration from the Harlem Renaissance, because the Harlem Renaissance was all about responding to injustice through the arts. So we read a poem by Langston Hughes, and we did some writing particularly about language and how individual words can have different meanings.
Many school districts around the country have had to tackle the issue of whether or not to invite potentially tense conversation into the classroom, considering that students may have complicated or intense feelings about the issues at hand. What it came down to was the need for political and social education and flexibility. Since so much of the news consumed by high school students comes from a social media, Talawanda understood the importance of bringing the available information together in a concise manner. Considering the current political climate and the diversity of the political opinions amongst Talawanda students, there was no way to predict how students would react to the issues brought up in classes. However, this mixing of ideas seemed to be what was so beneficial about discussing the events of January 6th.
And I thought it was important to talk about the events with my students and help them to process the things. And my students were mostly quiet, but some of them definitely shared, and I'm hopeful that many of them wrote down lots of good ideas.
What many educators are taking away from this unique teaching experience is that the discussion of political topics does not come with a set of rigid rules. What took place at the Capitol building last Wednesday was a distinct situation, and what matters more than anything is keeping the line of conversation open for young people.
And now for our daily sports report with Luke West-Pulley.
Welcome back, THS. I hope everyone is staying safe and is glad to be here today. I'm really glad to be back in front of the camera again. It has been a long time. So tracking back to last week, the boys basketball team fell to Kings, Northwest, and Ross. The final game of those, the Kings game, was an overtime defeat on Saturday, so they fall to 3-10 on the year and 1-4 in the conference, with their next matchup being against Taylor at home tonight. The girls' team went 2-1 last week with a defeat on Monday to Taylor, a conference victory later versus Harrison, and a resounding 50-24 win over Dayton Stivers. The girls improved 6-9 overall and 3-2 in the conference. Their next game is set for tomorrow at Edgewood. And both bowling teams picked up victories over Mount Healthy. For the girls, the win came by just 4 pins, but for the boys, it was a dominant 700-pin victory. Both teams pick up their second win of the year, and they will head to Northwest Lanes to take on the Knights this Thursday. And the academic team started their season off with 2 blowout wins versus Edgewood last Wednesday. 99-44 and 83-44 were the scores of the matches, so a strong season opener for the Actual team. They will look to continue that momentum this Wednesday at Ross. And both swim teams picked up victories in their duels over Harrison last week. For the girls, it was a 2-point victory over the Wildcats, and for the boys, a 62-point win. That's our broadcast for today. I'm super excited to be back. Have a great day, Talawanda. Stay safe, and we'll see you all back here on Thursday.